G'day team, welcome to the training on the winning quote formula. Super important that when we attract the customers we want, that we can price work and win at a decent margin. And there is more that we can do to control the outcome of that most people think. And as an industry, we really suck at this. So I encourage you to look at how a lot of other industries, businesses out there, package and price their work, because it's a lot of inspiration comes from that. Just a bit of context. Remember, the key areas we're working on in order to drive $1 million plus profit in your business is the profit, process, and scale, and the avoiding the valleys of death. We know we've got to avoid. We've got a sales component. That's one of the 6 key elements, and it comes after we attract work. So work comes in to the business. We've then got to convert it. We're pricing most of our client base is commercial, but there's also terrible writing. I hide my bad writing because I can't spell that well. But there's also some resi work as well in our cohort. So once that's priced, we've got to go and deliver the work, make sure we've got our operations working smoothly. We need to build our people system to get that happening. And that comes around to making sure we've got the right mindset and leadership and the profit engineering, knowing our numbers. And just wanted to reframe that so we know where this fits in. So we're diving deep today into the sales process, which is parts of the conversion engine. So here's our sales system, and we are down here into S6. This is the quoting process. So it's part of the bigger picture. Back to this, the success or otherwise of pricing can have a big impact on your gross profit. If you can get a little bit more out, your gross profit goes up, massive impact on your net profit. So we know that gross profit is where we've got to aim. So how do we go about winning more quotes? And there's a couple of concepts here. Before I get into it, I started doing this in the trade contracting space, so about 20 years ago, and prices were put on an Excel spreadsheet or sent out of a job management system, and they were a bit ordinary. They might get away with, one line here and there and a price down the bottom. And if a client said, "Can you break it down?" you go, "Oh, what a pain. I don't really want to do that." I'm not suggesting here that we do break things down, materials and labor. We're trying to package things up so there's a better perception of value. And there's 4 key fundamental areas for that. Things to think about. It's not always about the price, even when it is. And the reason I say even when it is because even if you're in an open tender market, you can still do things that can take the eye off the price a bit and add value. Now, you've probably got to be around the price in a sophisticated market, and the tender market is probably at that high end of sophistication. The domestic market is at the lower end of sophistication. What I mean is that somebody buying your services for the first time for their houses probably might do it once a year, maybe once every couple of years. Someone buying your services for their business on a regular basis is doing it all the time. So they know what things cost and what they're at. So we've got to think a little bit clever about how we package things up. But even so, I've experienced putting non-conforming tenders in and winning work where we've thought about how we might be able to deliver a job differently or do it a little bit different to how it's spec'd. Now, not every buyer, not every customer is going to like that, and they might push back on it, but there are some that do, and they appreciate it. You could do it the way you spec'd it, or you could do it this way because we've come up with a better way. It's a bit cheaper, you save some value, save some money, or you do them more value. Either way, key thing here is number 2, we've got to be thinking like the buyer. So it's too often we are thinking of like the contractor, and that's no good for anyone. Well, it's okay for you and your team doing the delivery, but when we're selling, we've got to be thinking about the buyer. And the third part is the anatomy of the offer. We're going to run through the key frameworks that should be included in an offer. An offer is a quote, a price, a proposal. And there's some rules to that, and there's a checklist at the end of the handout that I'll run through. And then bundling all that up together, presentations, everything. So how do we present that? There is ways to do that. We're sending pricing electronically mostly now. So what happens if you actually send a proposal that's bound and hits a desk? If it's for a long-term maintenance contract or a rather big project that you want people to look at, and there's some value in putting your your social proof in there, your case studies, your evidence of work, different projects you've done. Getting something in the mail is so different now that maybe it's the bit that makes a difference. Sure, you've got to send it electronically, but it comes on desk, someone can flick through it, makes a difference. The other way to do that is you could actually send a Loom video. So we talk about using Loom videos all the time, really easy. You pull up a plan or you quote, you share a screen and you talk through your methodology. Now, you don't want to show them all the details in the build-up of the price, but imagine you have 5 minutes to pitch this quote to your buyer. Do a quick video, send that with the proposal. Now they've got a quick video of you talking about how you've gone about designing or pricing it, or things to look out for, or options that you can highlight in there. Or you might want to draw attention to a certain element. There could be some reason, some latent conditions or exclusions you want to point out, things that you've thought of that perhaps your competition hasn't. So physical copy and or video are different ways to presenting it. Otherwise, you can bundle up in most job management systems, linking PDFs with brochures essentially in it to go out with a quite bit of capability statement, past projects that fit. You might have a few of those that are ready to pull down for a certain client. Here's my one for high-end residential. Here's my one for industrial services. Here's my one for commercial fit-out. Different styles that go with that quote. And that makes it very easy to deliver. So that's some points around a presentation. Okay, now at the end of the handout that's in this training is the checklist. So if you watch nothing else, just go to the checklist, open up your last quote you sent and run through from top to bottom, all 8 things. Does it all make sense? We're going to dive into these in a little bit more detail, but I know some of you don't have time, don't want to watch it or use that page. What is it? Page 11. So back to the top, the winning quote formula. Right, we've covered off these things. We know that price isn't the most important thing. Being the cheapest is not a way to win in business. And we often leave money on the table because we're not offering things that they haven't asked for, or we're not packaging things up right, or we've all lost jobs to someone who's priced it higher and go, why did they win it? I was cheaper. They're getting the value or the money left on the table and we're not. Done right, pricing gets more profit. You can build a price up from the cost, first principles, labour, materials, subcontractors, everything else, put a margin on, give you a price, which is important. You've got to do that. And I always encourage you to make sure you really understand your direct job costs, which are those, and what contribution you're looking for. But equally, you can build a price from the top down. So there's some things that buyers don't understand fully, even when you're in the commercial market and they're more sophisticated. So a building manager might understand quite clearly what it's like to put in a power GPOs, power points through a floor of the building. And they might even know, there's a load on each circuit, and they've got to have a number of circuits. They might know that. But if there's 3-phase that's got to come into the building, they might not understand that. So 3-phase power might be something that there's a little bit of magic about that. You can price a bit more. So every trade's got that, where there's a level of knowledge that our buyers have, but there's part of it that you have, your expertise. We're going to talk about how we package that up. There's also getting into the mind of the buyers. It's not always the price is important, but even on the commercial space, it's not always the case, where some buyers might be thinking, it's not their money, they've got to be within budget, but Does this person clean them afterwards? Can I understand a quote? Are they going to come back and fix something if I don't do it? Are there any guarantees? And we'll talk about this risk reversal. Some of the things I see people making, and made them myself, of course, is competing on price, which is nasty, and always a race to the bottom. With regards to discounts, if your current margin is 30% and you discount by 10%, you've got to do 50% more work just to get the same gross profit. If your margin's 40% and you discount by 20%, you've got to do 100% more work to get the same gross profit. So discounting is a slippery slope. That's why pricing is so important. Back to getting into the mindset of the buyer, thinking about what their real fears and concerns are, their delays and quality certifications and the like. So those key concepts we spoke about, pricing, thinking like the buyer, the anatomy of the offer, the presentations, everything. So we've covered most of 1 and 2. What I'm going to now do is dive into a little bit of the anatomy of the offer. And I want to suggest you have a look at Alex Hormozi. Google him, value equation, and he's got some great content about putting a price or an offer together that gives you a context of the psychology of why people buy. And don't think that just because you're in a commercial environment and you've got to do it a certain way that there's not psychology in the way people buy. 100% there is. Now, one of the training sessions we do in this sales, in the marketing side, is referral-based marketing, building relationships and content to that. So relationships are certainly go a long way. We're talking about specifically the sales today, which is how, and more specifically about how we structure the quote and the offer and the price for it. So his concept around the value equation is talking about some things you might not have thought of, but the dream outcome is what we're trying to deliver, not the thing. We're not putting in an HVAC, a air conditioning unit. We're trying to deliver temperature control. And then we talk about what the perceived likelihood of success is. So if you use this Daikin system, you are 100%, it's a trusted brand, you are going to be able to be at 21 degrees when outside it's 35 degrees and 80% humidity. And we can install it in a day. That's a time delay that we here. And the effort and sacrifice for the customer is you just let us in, we'll put it in, and then you've got that dream outcome. So this is an example of that concept. Now, the other thing that we are not always good at is packaging the offer with other things. And I've used this to great success when we start to stack offers. So I'll just jump down here to show the stacked value. I think this is the easiest way to explain this. So there's things we do when we deliver that we don't necessarily charge for, that are kind of included in our price, that are hidden from view. So an example here is if we're doing an electrical fit out, there's a design component. We're going to design the power and the data network and the lighting in accordance with the BCA. We're going to put that in place, but we don't often put a price on it. We might not be able to charge for it, but we want to include it in the quote because there's the value there, and we're going to stack that value. So we've got the design. We might be able to say we've got a priority scheduling. That depends on the market, but there's people are used to paying for priority and speed now. You think about Uber surge pricing when there's a concert on, the Uber is now twice as much. There's a premium for speed that people pay. Certification compliance, we're going to do that anyway. Testing and warrant included in that. We're going to do that anyway. So we've got to stack that in. Now, you're dealing with a builder that might say, you've got to include that. Fair enough. Dealing with the end customer, you can actually have these things in the quote. Even if you can't recover the cost directly by the builder, if you put it in there as part of stacking up the value, it's giving more perception of what you're going to, a better perception of what you're going to deliver. So, compliance certification, warranty, and there might be you might say you've got a 12-month callback for anything that's broken, and you'd happily go and fix something. Well, I'm assuming you would happily go and fix something if it was your fault and it didn't work. You got an opportunity here to put something in here that says you will go, for 12 months, you'll come back any time for anything to fix its warranty. If you get there and it's not due to your workmanship, you obviously be able to charge for that. It might be they've thrown on extra load. You've got to put another circuit in so you get more power. More work out of it. So, we've got these elements of the quote, which is more than just the materials and labor. So traditionally, we're scoping out materials and labor, so that's 28 grand. But if we add all these other things together, where there's a bit of there's value in the things we do, the price comes up to 40 grand, and we're selling it for 35 grand. So a couple of things are happening here. The stacking of these things together gives a price anchor, which makes our 35 grand look good. Our 35 grand is still quite a way off our 28 that if we just done the materials and labor, and it still has a perceived value. And that's here in point 3 in the price anchoring. So the other way you can anchor price is, if you go down a bit further in this document, is giving options. 1, 2, 3 options for the type of install, standing next to each other. Here we go. This is just a rough example. And you might have options which are good, better, best, however you want to term it. But that's the concept. You got a good option, you got a better option, you got the best option. The good is the cheapest possible way you can do it. The better is your recommended way. You pay a little bit more, you get a few other things that make sense in this context. And the premium, I can't remember the exact percentage, but let's say it's 5% of buyers are not price sensitive, and they will happily buy something that's more than you think. So if you're able to put options in, you've just got an opportunity there. And I experience this all the time, where there's some people that just want to buy something that's a bit more expensive and get more in it, and they're not price sensitive, and they're not even the people you think. So having the premium option there anchors a higher price, makes your better option, your option you hope people are going to choose, seem reasonable, but also gives them a cheap version that they compare against another quote and go, instead of what happens mostly is you just deliver this price, and then they get this price, which is 20% less, and go, you're a bit more, but I put all this stuff in. They don't know. Again, comes back to that value stacking. Yeah, showing the stack value there. So back to here, price anchoring is a way to do that, is giving options and stacking things up and then discounting. Increasing the speed to yes. So you've got to make it easier for people to buy. Now, this will vary depending on how you're delivering your quotes. But if you're on site delivering a quote and you've got your job management system set up so you can do it in the app, or your technicians can do it in the app, they can accept that price and take payment on site. That's the fastest way to do it. Having a simple button to book it in, or pay now, or just respond to me, go and I'll book it in for you. There's lots of different ways, but think about from a customer point of view, how do you make it easy for them to buy? And you might need a purchase order, whatever the process is for your customers. And importantly, when they're doing that, you're trying to create urgency. And one of the ways you can do that is is in your quote saying if you want to get that start date, if you want it done by Christmas is coming up, it's got to be booked in by 15th of November, those sort of things. So I will come back to speed and urgency, but I'm just going to jump to risk reversal. Risk reversal seems a bit weird. First time I did this, I felt a bit uncomfortable. I put a guarantee to workmanship on all our quotes. I'm going, oh, what does that mean? Well, what it actually meant is something was not right and we got something wrong. We would go back and fix it anyway. 100% guaranteed we'll go back and I just said it's just in my language. But if you put it in writing and put it in all your proposals, then you just add in again that value to it that maybe a lot of people do it, but maybe set you aside. Prices are the same, but this guy's got a guarantee. I'm going to go with him, and the better the guarantee, the better the conversion rate. So in here is some wording down here, pages 9, risk reversal guarantees. Okay. So there's 4 key concepts: workmanship, on time, satisfaction, compliance. And this has just got some text that might help you put it into your format, the way you like to do it. There's also, we're going to talk about scarcity and urgency. There's some wording here on how you could put scarcity and urgency into your quotes. So I'll just go back up here. Now, one thing I wanted to just highlight, I can't remember if we mentioned or not. So when we're giving options, one of the reasons we do it is it gives people something to say no to. They're not deciding whether to buy from you or not. They're deciding which option to buy. They want choice. Give them one quote, one price. There's no choice. The only choice they got is go and get 2 other quotes. Give them 3 options and they can choose. So, yeah, that's a risk reversal. And if you put yourself, you'll put yourself in your buyer's shoes and think about what the key drivers for them are. So just say you've got an industrial client and uptime on the production line is huge. You can structure your risk reversal around uptime. You've got a strata manager who just the worst thing that can ever happen to them is complaints from the tenants, or a building manager, complaints from tenants, contractors doing this, that, and the other. Structure your guarantees around that. You won't get any complaints from us. We'll always clean up. If we don't do it, we'll discount. We'll give it to you free, whatever it is. There's some wording in there. So when you're thinking about risk reversal, think about what the issues, not that your customer has, not your issues, the customer has. Okay, urgency, scarcity. The classic one is by Christmas, but there's also other things you can do. You can say we've got limited capacity. Most of my clients are busy, right? You've all got lots on, so we could slot you in, but we've got to book it in now. There's public holidays that come up. There's get things done by grand final day. There's by Christmas. There's all these things, school holidays, those sort of things. You look at a calendar, you can create urgency. Stock. There's a number of businesses struggling with stock at the moment. You've got a shipment in. That's when you reach out and go, hey, we got shipment. If you want it, it'll be gone, but you better get it in now. Now, I'm not suggesting ever to lie about this stuff. That's not what I'm saying. But there is legitimate scarcity in your business. You use it to sell and to create an urgency to get those jobs over the line. Okay. The next thing we're going to talk about is a unique mechanism. So what's your vehicle for getting the work done? I don't mean the truck. I just mean the system that your business operates. It could be around a system, and this needs a bit of creative thought. You might have a zero defect delivery process. It could be around your technology that you use, and it could be around your team. We're certified for Panjud, or we've got these licensings where we have this certification, that certification. We have rapid response teams. Putting some adjectives and names to what you think is just the normal way of doing business is useful. And you can probably think of a few other tube businesses that do this. Subway Subway had a sandwich system. I can't remember the exact terminology, but I walked in there and they had, this is the uh, sandwich. I think it was the sandwich system. I'm going, great. I've come to a sandwich place. They've got a sandwich system. Must be good. I don't know what it was from memory. But anyway, we're talking about your unique mechanism of trying to bundle that up into something that makes sense, that doesn't make you go ick and feel like an idiot, but gives some sense that you're a professional outfit. So all this builds together to create a no-brain offer, something that people would feel stupid saying no to. And the anatomy of the offer is important, but those 4 key concepts that I mentioned need to think about. So it's not about the price. Got to think like the buyer. Got to build your offer with all the key elements in it, and you've got to present it. And you can present it verbally, electronically, video, physically. There's other different ways you can make yourself stand out. And the cheat sheet is down the end. Go through there, have a look at how your quotes present, clear, professional, outcome focus, speed, risk reversal, options and pricing, scarcity, urgency, proof and trust, easy to accept. Now, though a lot of those elements take a bit of time to build out, building out a body of work of client testimonials and project files that you can deliver on, professional presentations. Most job management systems, you can attach PDFs through and send out part of the proposal, but you don't want a generic one. You want to have one for your industrial clients, one for your commercial clients, one for your residential clients that kind of speaks to them. Another thing I see people get stuck in is putting exclusions into a quote that are like a page long, and it just has this negative impact. Go, well, they're not going to do that. What are they going to do? You can put most of your exclusions into your terms of trade. Put your terms of trade together with the fine print, people covered, but the pricing has got the inclusions, the things you're going to do, not the things you're not going to do. It's just a different psychology. So we've got a checklist. We've got 4 key concepts. An increase in your pricing can have a big impact on your bottom line, and a business with good gross profit and a bottom line is going to be able to grow, generate cash, and be successful. Wish you all the best. Talk soon. Cheers.